Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys make what I think is a fascinating addition in the spring transfer portal window as former five-star wide receiver Hykeem Williams, Travis Hunter, and what they did over the last 2 years, which obviously very impressive. The wide receiver development for Colorado has been extremely impressive. Like obviously it starts with Travis Hunter and what he did as a pass catcher. You know, Jimmy Horn, picked in round 6. You look at LeJohntay Wester, picked in round 6. Like Will Shepherd probably should have been an NFL draft pick as well. And they got 3 other wide receivers that are going to go play in the NFL. Coach Prime's done a nice job developing these wide receivers over the last 2 years at Colorado. Now the question is, can you do the same thing with a guy like Hykeem Williams, where you look at this kid and say, he's got all the potential in the world. The Florida State fans certainly know this. Can he stay healthy? Can he put it together? And if I'm Coach Prime in Colorado, why not take a flyer on a guy like Hykeem Williams? Like, this is a guy that he has all the stuff you can't teach. Now, can you get the best version of this kid as a football player? One of the things that stands out to me about Colorado's activity in the transfer portal this cycle, this wide receiver room, which had to replace a lot of really good pass catchers, right? Guys like LeJohntay Wester, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, Will Shepherd, 4 NFL guys moving on to the NFL. They've spared no expense, adding pass catchers into this room and saying, hey, we got 2 quarterbacks that we have some confidence in with Caden Salter and a guy like Julian Lewis. We want to make sure we're doing everything possible to put the pieces around the quarterbacks heading into 2025. And the thing that jumps out to me about this Colorado wide receiver room is the verticality that it's going to have in the 2025 year. And you start looking at this wide receiver room and say, all right, you add Hykeem Williams, 6'2", 220, can work vertically down the field. You have Amarian Miller coming back going into year 3, a guy that's averaged 20 yards per catch during his career. You go out and add Campbell, wide receiver Sincere Brown. He's 6'5", 200, averaged 17 yards per catch last year at Campbell. You look at Joseph Williams coming from Tulsa. He's a guy that averaged 20 yards per catch last year. The amount of wide receivers that are really good working vertically down the field, like it's there for Colorado. And we know they want to push the ball down the field. They have the wide receivers to do it going into 2025. Want to get a little bit more into Hykeem Williams, what he brings to the table for Colorado. Now, before we get into it, as always, whether you're a Florida State fan, whether you're a college football fan that follows the recruiting trail, whether you're a Colorado fan, would love to hear how you guys are feeling about this one in the comment section. At the very least, it's going to be really fun to see what this kid can do in Colorado. Y'all let it fly. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to talk a little bit more broadly about what Colorado has done in the transfer portal, specifically on the offensive side of the football, where it was no secret. You had to replace a lot of production from the 2024 team, not only at the quarterback spot, the wide receiver spot as well, and on the offensive line, that is. You bring in Caden Salter with Julian Lewis, and you have a really dynamic quarterback room. That's going to be a quarterback battle going into spring. Caden Salter versus Julian Lewis. If you're a Colorado fan, you feel decent about whoever wins that job, giving you good quarterback play in the 2025 season. I said this when Julian Lewis committed to Colorado. He might not be the biggest. He might not have the biggest arm, but he was one of the more college-ready quarterbacks that you saw coming out of high school. Then you look at the pass catcher room. You got to replace a lot of really good pass catchers. Well, you went to the portal and got a lot of receivers that, have a lot of upside. Now, is every single one of these wide receivers going to hit their upside in 2025? No, probably not. But you have enough guys that if you hit on 2 or 3 of these guys, or 3 or 4 of these guys, this wide receiver room could be pretty dynamic. Not to mention Draylon Miller, one of my favorite players from that Colorado team last year, who I think can be a difference maker in a multitude of different ways. So, he's gotten the Deebo Samuel comps, and I don't think those comps are that wild. You can put him in the backfield, you can put him in the slot, you can put him out wide. Guy that, quite frankly, might lead Colorado in receiving yards in the 2025 year. You feel good about the pieces you have in the pass catcher department around the quarterback, as well as a tight end in Zach Atkins that, got a lot of positive reviews during the spring practice window. Then the offensive line, which has always been the question for Colorado, right? It was miserable in 2023, took a step in the right direction in the 2024 year, reshuffling the deck once again. The thing that stands out to me about this Colorado offensive line is, look, it's going to be one of the most experienced units that you see in the entire country. Like, you start looking at the names that Colorado landed in the transfer portal, like Xavier Hill coming from Memphis, over 2,000 career snaps. And you continue to scroll down and look at some of these offensive line additions. Zion Chrysler coming from Illinois in the Big Ten, 1,900 snaps. Continue to scroll down and look at some other offensive linemen. Aaron McGill coming from Louisiana Tech, probably going to play center, 1,900 snaps. Like, the only guy that you have that doesn't have over 1,500 snaps that's projected to start here are two guys. One, Jordan Seaton at left tackle. We kind of know what he is, one of the better tackles in the country. And then Ike Okanobi from Texas A&M, who's going into his 6th year of college football. And so I look at the offensive line in front of the quarterback and say, all right, we got some underlying confidence in the quarterback position being solid, with whether it's Caden Salter, whether it's Julian Lewis. You got some difference makers in the wide receiver room, and you're trying to figure out, all right, who are the difference makers that are going to step up. You also have a couple of true freshmen that I know Colorado likes coming in. Then you have an offensive line that the big thing with this offensive line is, I think you got the personnel, right? You got a bunch of guys that have played a lot of football at the collegiate ranks. Now the conversation is, hey, can this unit that really only returns a guy like Jordan Seaton and Tyler Brown, can it come together and kind of fit like a glove and put it together in the 2025 year? But I do think you have the personnel to do it. Go back to Colorado in 2023 on the offensive line. We kind of knew from a personnel standpoint, they probably just didn't have good enough players to have a good offensive line. I think the personnel is probably there. Now, is it all going to work out? Is it going to come together? This is a fascinating team. I feel like a lot of people kind of writing them off because you lose Shedeur Sanders, you lose Travis Hunter. Going to be a fun team to track in the 2025 year. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Hykeem Williams, a very fun player for the Colorado fans to kind of monitor over the next couple of months heading into 2025. Sky's the limit for this kid. Now it's Coach Prime, putting it together for him. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy, y'all later. Peace.